I know people on social media, they love to be bold and they love to say things about Paul George. And we all know how good of a playoff run he had last year. But for some reason, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, even close friends that I have personally, still hold the belief that Paul George is a playoff choker. It's insane that so many people think this way, but it is what it is. It's the perception that he had last year because of how horrible and how publicized the whole thing was, right? People were talking about, him being Pandemic P, right? That's where the nickname really came from. And it makes sense for people to criticize him when he was losing. But now people have to really start waking up, so to speak, and really realize that the dude that you're talking about being a Pandemic P was actually really good in the playoffs. He's a perennial winner in the playoffs. I know he didn't win a championship. He didn't even go to the finals once. But I'm telling you right now, not many people can do what he did with the team he had. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about the Clippers? Let's talk about the Pacers first off, okay? They were a team that were comprised of players like Roy Hibbert, Danny Granger in the beginning, especially. He was the main guy. And at that point, Paul George was really the guy, the second option to lean on. And he would get the ball at times and he would do what he has to do. And he would become the first option. And in 2013 and 2014, they would appear in two Eastern Conference Finals in a row. And mind you, the year before that, in 2012, they lost in the second round to the same team they had to play against twice to make the finals. Okay, so they were up against a tough opponent in Miami, and Miami was stacked up. We all know how good they were. And I think to myself, when we look at LeBron James' career, I think prime LeBron James, 2013 LeBron James especially, was the best version of LeBron James we'll ever see. People love to talk about, the 2018 run he had, how he was carrying the whole team, and it must have hurt his back. But I still do think LeBron James in 2013 would have done a way better job than the 2018 version. The 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, the Heat won in 7 games. The 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, the Miami Heat won in 6 games. Okay, so it was a pretty close series. Okay, so even with a stacked team like Miami at the time, who went on to beat the Spurs once and lose to them in the following year, Paul George and the bunch in Indiana, they held their own against LeBron and D Wade and Bosh, and they really looked like the worthy opponent that they were. Okay, so the first conference finals appearance, George averaged 19.4 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and 5.1 assists per game. Okay, obviously he had that bad game 7, and obviously you can say, that leaves a stain on his legacy, whatnot, well, yada yada yada. But he still showed up in the conference finals. He still won 3 games for his team. He got his club going. And George, when he came back in the conference finals in 2014, well, he averaged 24 points a game, 5.3 rebounds a game, and 4 assists a game. Okay, so some of the numbers dipped in terms of rebounding and assists, but you know what didn't dip and actually went up? 24 points a game. Yes, that's almost 5 points higher than last time. But that was 24 points a game against the Miami defense that was said to be one of the best at the time. So I just don't think you can really discredit Paul George here, okay? And people need to realize how good this guy was and still is. We all know about the horrible leg injury he had a couple of years ago, and I don't want to go over that. It's just sad. And I'm glad to see, this is a great story, guys, that he recovered. And when he came back in the 2018-2019 season to really play 77 games, holy snap. That was a career best for him. That was his best year ever. And he came back even stronger from that leg injury. And he averaged 28 points a game. He averaged 4.1 assists per game, 8.2 total rebounds a game. And this is the kicker right here, man. He averaged a league leading 2.2 steals a game. This dude was so good. He was doing all that with the tandem of Westbrook that would average a triple-double that year. And he was so good that season that he was put in the conversation not only for MVP, but for Defensive Player of the Year. He was top 3 in both categories. And now, what's funny, although the points, steals, and rebounds per game have decreased, but you know what didn't decrease? The assists per game. You know what didn't decrease? The field goal percentage. It got much higher. His 3-point field goal percentage now is over 40% rather than the 38.6% it was in 2019. This dude is straight up shooting it, man. Okay, this guy is actually killing it, man. His field goal now is over 45% as of last season. And this guy, man, he's slinging it, man. He's shooting it at a much more efficient rate. Now, Leonard isn't there to play with him. And that's the big kerfuffle. That's what people are talking about in terms of the Clippers and why people don't really see them being a contending team, even though they do see them being in the playoffs and being perhaps top four, perhaps even outside looking in the top four seed. You cannot go wrong with what the Clippers have built right now. Okay, without Leonard, they're going to have players back like Batum and Reggie Jackson who were pivotal in their playoff run. And then Serge Ibaka, I don't think you guys remember, he was hurt last season when they were in playoffs. And so we didn't get the chance to really see them play with this dominant and just imposing forward in the paint. This guy was so good on the Raptors. I'm just so mad that we didn't get to pay him his dues, but it is what it is. And then you got new faces in the team. Eric Bledsoe. Oh my goodness. Another player that gets slandered to death, man. That guy is going to probably ball out as a backup to Reggie Jackson. Okay, this guy is going to kill it. I'm pretty sure he's going to start some games and really show us why he could be a starting point guard for this team as well. Okay. People say his game is going to clash with the team's game. Look, I honestly believe it's the opposite. I honestly believe if you take Zubac out of the game and you put Bledsoe in, so that paint is free, so the spacing doesn't have to be as bad as it was. Like at that point, you're smooth sailing, man. You got a player that's so dangerous off the dribble, man. Going into the paint, this guy is a train. He's a train coming at you full speed. No way, no way. Most people can't stop that. Harry Giles a third, man. I mean, he looked good. He looked good in that preseason game that I talked about a couple of videos ago, man. That guy is going to get his dues at some point, I think, in the season. And you have Amir Coffey. He's solid. And the Clippers overall, they have an interesting roster. I'm not sure who's going to be their 15-man roster. There's a lot of players that are bouting for that. And we'll see. Because Paul George himself is looking to have a very good season, guys. I'm telling you right now, those who are doubting him, those who are still regarding him as being a choker in the playoffs despite what he did against Phoenix, those who still think that this dude is not to be messed with, you guys are going to have to swallow your saliva and you're going to have to eat this L because Paul George is about to come here, okay, and just dominate. And it's going to be interesting to see what the response from all the haters is going to be. But I'm pretty sure we all know what they're going to say or not say.